Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise. When I wake up this morning and I see a multitude of headlines talking about the incessant whining and complaining in the WNBA dump. Just imagine my surprise. Believe it or not, they're not complaining about travel accommodations this time. They're not complaining about their minimum wage salaries yet. Don't worry though, don't worry. The complaints about minimum wage, they will increase here in a couple of weeks. They are not complaining about the lack of running water or the overflow problem at the porta potties. This time, the complaints, they are coming from Coach Complainer. The complaints are coming from the inspiration of young women and men pretending to be women who aspire to grow up to become professional complainers. This time, the complaints are coming from Cheryl Reeve. Well, KC, who in the hell is Gerald Steve? Now, if you were to believe the mainstream media, Cheryl Reeve is one of the most legendary coaches in the sport of basketball. Yeah, obviously, most people who watch this channel, you guys believe nothing that you see in the media, so Uncle KC will tell you the truth about Cheryl Reeve. Cheryl is a legendary coach, but she doesn't coach basketball. She coaches pretend basketball. There's a difference. Cheryl is a proud four-time winner of the Golden Toilet in the WNBA. Since 2010, Cheryl Reeve has been the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx, a team that has secured access to the Golden Throne 4 times in the last 14 years. Very impressive. And it's also ironic when you think about it. With most championship teams, you can at least name one player on the roster. I don't watch Major League Baseball, but I know Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge, they are competing in the World Series. With the Lynx being 4-time users of the Golden Throne, you would think at least one player on this roster is recognizable. But just like every other player in the WNBA not named Caitlin Clark, the Lynx, they have got to wear name tags at family reunions. Besides being a legendary coach in pretend basketball, Cheryl Reeve, she is also a legendary complainer. Earlier this year, she complained because one of her preseason games wasn't broadcast on television. They are showing Caitlin Clark's preseason game. How come they're not showing ours? We've used the Golden Throne 4 times, damn it! We're wannabe stars. We're important. I drive a Dodge Stratus. Since Cheryl Reeve is largely unknown, no one really paid attention to her complaints back then, but the complaints that she made last night, they caught everyone's attention because Cheryl Reeve, she essentially accused the WNBA of rigging the WNBA Finals. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Let's go and get to the sponsor for today's video, my friends at Patriots by Design. I receive hundreds of emails every day and about once, maybe twice a week. I'll have someone ask me where I get my shirts. Yeah, me, fashion guru. For the longest time, I had a stitched American flag that was back here on the shelf and people would ask me where I got it. With there being so many woke companies, a lot of people, they're looking for brands that align with their personal values, brands that are patriotic. Doesn't get more patriotic than Patriots by Design. One of my favorite items offered by Patriots by Design is their Trump wall art. Here's an example of the Trumper and Melania looking happy, which I am sure is very shocking to the mainstream media. Winter is right around the corner. The weather is getting colder. If your wife is anything like mine, she is constantly freezing. Hell, my wife, she is freezing during the summer. Warm your wife up with a hoodie blanket from Patriots by Design. They also offer car seat covers for military veterans that are available for every branch of the military. Free shipping is available everywhere in the United States. So click the link in the description below. Use my promo code BTL10, BTL10. Save 10% off your first purchase with Patriots by Design. Last night was the pivotal Game 5 of the WNBA Finals. Now, in every other sport with the series tied 2-2, the winner of Game 5, they would be 1 one win away from securing the championship. In the WNBA, the winner of Game 5 closes out the series and secures off-season access to the coveted flushable toilet. Now, if you were to believe the media, you would think that this was a classic game, one of the best closeout games in the history of sports and pretend sports. Headline at ESPN: Epic WNBA Finals are a fitting end to a transcendent season. I actually tried to watch the game last night. I haven't tried to watch a WNBA game since August. As soon as the NFL preseason started, I was done giving the WNBA a chance. I tried to watch a few games this summer, but after a while, I just got tired of laughing at the lack of athleticism. There's only so many times you can see an airball dunk attempt. It's like magic. You see a trick once and you're amazed. You see the trick a second time and it's less appealing. By the time you see it a third time, you're bored with it. Same thing with the WNBA. Your first airball dunk, you were cackling like Cam Harris. But once you see it 2 or 3 times in 2 or 3 seconds, it just becomes sad and painful to watch. But last night, I decided to give the WNBA another chance. The NFL has been absolutely horrific this season, so I wasn't going to waste my time watching Sunday Night Football. My wife, she was sick last night. She went to bed around 7 o'clock, so couldn't watch the shows that we normally watch together. So I decided to give the WNBA one more chance. My thinking was, with this being a championship game, the level of play, it would be presentable. I wasn't expecting NBA level basketball, but at minimum, I was expecting low level high school basketball. What I saw last night, that shit wouldn't pass for basketball at your local YMCA. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It seemed like neither team wanted to win. It damn sure seemed like neither team wanted to score points. I haven't seen that many missed shots since the Star Trek virgin Mike Freeman was shooting his shot with Chewbacca. It was one of the worst basketball games that I have ever seen. And I am not exaggerating here. I know the media is afraid to say this because they don't want to piss off Adam Silver, but I don't give a fuck about Adam Silver. That game last night, that was trash. The score at halftime was 27-24. 27-24 in what the media calls a professional basketball game. There are players in the NBA capable of putting up 27 points by themselves in the first half. The offense was so offensive, I just turned the game off at halftime. The mainstream media, they like to claim that Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart are 2 of the best basketball players in the world. Last night, in what was probably the biggest game of their careers, they were a combined 5 of 34 from the field. These so-called stars, they shot 15%, but that's okay. They were rescued by the other unknown players on the New York Liberals who shot 30% from the field. Even with their offense being that offensive, the New York Liberals, they still managed to beat the Minnesota Lynx and they secured off-season access to the Golden Throne. Now, I am sure you were asking yourself the same thing I did. How? How in the hell is that possible? How can a team shoot 30% from the field and win the damn game? I mean, obviously, that can only happen in the WNBA. If you're only capable of scoring 67 points across 4 quarters and overtime, it always helps when the opposing dump is only capable of scoring 62. But according to coach complainer Cheryl Reeve, there is a more logical explanation as to why the Minnesota Lynx lost. They didn't lose because they couldn't shoot a golf ball into the Grand Canyon. They didn't lose because they shot 15% from the three-point line while the New York Liberals shot 8%. 8%. I'm not lying. The New York Liberals shot 8% from the three-point line. I didn't even know that was possible. But according to Coach Complainer, the Linkers, they lost because the WNBA stole the game from them. They lost because Kat Engelbert revoked their dump pass, and she refused to give them access to running water. Watch it for yourself.
I know all the headlines will be Reeve cries foul. Bring it on, right? Bring it on, because this shit was stolen from us.
Wait a minute. Let me make sure I am understanding you correctly. You expect me to believe that Kat Engelbert rigged a game of pretend basketball? Keyword, pretend? You really expect me to believe that you lost that game because of the officiating? Go look at the score. There were no winners last night. Only losers. If I was Kat Engelbert, I would make them play that game over. That was some of the worst basketball I have ever seen. Normally, in a championship game, the quality of play is elevated. Normally, championship games, they create long-lasting memories. Jordan, Game 6. Tracy Porter intercepting Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl. Tom Brady coming back from a 28-3 deficit in the second half to beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Pete Carroll refusing to run Marshawn Lynch at the goal line, which lost the Super Bowl for the Seahawks. These games were played years ago. In the case of Michael Jordan, it was decades ago, but we all still remember it. But no one will remember that game last night. Matter of fact, most people probably woke up this morning trying to forget it. Like I have been telling you guys all season, the WNBA, they are not ready for prime time. This was your chance. I would imagine that game last night was the most watched WNBA game in decades, possibly ever. You were given a prime time slot on a Sunday night when everyone in America is at home. NFL, they are struggling right now. Sunday Night Football was Jets Steelers, two of the most boring teams in a league that's filled with boring teams. The eyes of America were on you, and that was your best performance. All kidding aside, it would not shock me if Cheryl Reeve has a point with her complaints. I mean, the WNBA is owned by the NBA, a league with a long history of questionable officiating and allegations of fixed games, so I would not be surprised if there was some merit to her complaints. However, I'm having a very hard time believing Sherry, having a hard time believing that the WNBA handed the New York Liberals a championship because the Minnesota Lynx, they scored a total of 2 points in overtime. 2! Dose! In overtime. Did the WNBA take away your players' ability to make shots? Watching that game last night, there wasn't a player on the floor that had that ability to begin with. This league, I mean, it's always something. One thing the WNBA repeatedly proved throughout this season, they're not ready for prime time. And last night, that was not the exception. That was the norm. But give me your thoughts on this. Cheryl Reeve basically accuses the WNBA of rigging the WNBA Finals. Do you believe her? Or is this just another in a long line of complaints from Coach Complainer? Did any of you guys watch the full game last night? If so, what did you think about it? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com. See you guys tomorrow.